basketball arena. I'm going to see if I can do something pretty large in there, Life Wallet related, to improve the accommodations. I know the university wants to do some stuff with the basketball arena. I think we spruce that up, make it better. It's going to be better for the players. We'll get more fans out there. I think we're going to get more fans just because we made it so far. So, look, I think there's a lot of things that are going on. I see,
Tess, can you hear me, everyone?
I actually visited Northwestern University, saw their facilities. It was a pretty good experience. The coach over there was super nice. Showed us around. It looked like a 270,000 square foot facility for all the sports, but mainly football. Weight room, and so we're looking at that. The stadium, when I say a stadium, it's really not just the stadium, right? It's the entire track. For Tropical Park, we're looking at, a lot of the details, and I think that would be spectacular for the university and actually for the community. So we're excited about that. I think everything's pretty damn positive all around now.
Hey, John, another question I'd ask you. So basically, is Bayfront Park definitely off the table?
No, I don't think anything's off the table, but obviously our main priority right now, which I think would be the best fit, would be Tropical Park.
Yeah, because
we can't get anything off the table because in order to get Tropical Park approved, we'd need a referendum and get a vote from the voters, and get that approved, which I think we can get to. I don't think that's something that I believe is not attainable. But,
yeah.
Bayfront Park.
Because I looked at Bayfront Park. I looked at Bayfront Park over the weekend when they had Ultra. I was watching a video on it, and the more I look at Bayfront Park, if Tropical doesn't happen, I tend to like that Bayfront Park, John, a lot, to be honest.
Well, I mean, it's definitely on the water, right? So it has an appeal. I think it was maybe 2 months ago, or maybe a little bit more, that I went with Alex, and we took a ride in the helicopter. We looked at all the locations. I looked at Bayfront Park. It has obviously a lot of pluses, but the one biggest minus is just there's not that much land there, and I think with our, I think everybody's vision is pretty much to have a really, really, really nice facility, and for that you need as much land as you possibly can. I also think the traffic to Bayfront is a challenge many times. For those of us that go to the Heat games, that becomes problematic. The parking, there's a bunch of other things that play a role into the equation. Remember, the arena for basketball is probably a hair under 20,000. You have a football stadium with 65,000. That's there's 3.5 times or about 3 times the amount of fans, and it becomes difficult for traffic and those kinds of things. So I think guys, overall, I think we got to be beyond happy, and we've been very blessed that all the stars have kind of aligned, right? So I think things feed off each other, right? I'm a firm believer that the basketball team did very well, but it's because there's this energy in this town about the UM team, and everything's really flowing well. So I think you guys know that we have the Immortal team, and that team has a bunch of really good players. We have a 5-star quarterback right now who's the quarterback for the team. And I believe a lot of those players are showing interest in wanting to go to the University of Miami. So that's a good thing, too. I think we have a substantial number of players that I think are going to be, heading our way. And my understanding is that there's a lineman from Oregon that was about to go on the portal. I'm not sure if he's already in the portal or not. And I think he wanted to come to Miami also.
Yeah, that's correct, actually.
Right, so, we're pretty involved at all different levels. We're making sure everything's done right. I've seen a lot of universities doing things that I think are problematic from my view. So that's pretty much the update that I have. If you guys have questions, happy to answer them.
Does anybody have questions for Mr. Ruiz?
I would ask a number one before Rob answers. What about the mass transit issue, John, regarding tropical? Have you spoken with Tri-Rail and have you spoken with Brightline regarding the possibility of having shuttle buses physically to the airport site for Tri-Rail to get back to Broward and Palm Beach after night games? And that's been the biggest issue, really, to be quite honest, because I've done that and it's an issue when it was the old Orange Bowl. Have you addressed that with Tri-Rail's representatives and with Brightline's people?
Not yet, because our first level is to get, the sort of architectural drawings and thought process from HKS. And once we do that, we know a lot more of what we need to do subsequent to that. But we're doing all kinds of feasibility studies, from traffic, getting to the facility and other places. And then obviously one of the things that we're piecing together too is, a trauma center and being able to get helicopters to land there for, injured people. So there's just a lot of things that go into it. And to go out and start contacting, outside sources or forces before we have a definitive on kind of what the idea is, I don't think is the most productive way to do it. So I'm waiting to get this. And then after that, we can study the entire thing. Obviously, traffic is a huge component of that, right?
Absolutely, without question.
So, I think we have a very good game plan. There are basically two main entities that piece these things of projects together. It's HKS, I think the other one's HLK. And the Northwestern facilities were designed by HLK, but I tend to like the HKS guys more just simply because, they did the Sophie and they got a couple guys that had actually gone to UM. They got offices in Texas, so I kind of felt a little better about them.
So, John, have you been down to any of the football practices? I heard that Alex was there last week. And what is his report back to you in terms of how we look in his personal opinion?
So I've not. I'm gonna go. The spring game is at the Moss facility, right, where the soccer team plays at.
Yes, in Fort Lauderdale, April 16th at noon on ACC Network.
Right. So, I'm going to go to that, obviously. But no, I've obviously not had the time. We had a lot of, deals going.
I know.
Crazy.
All right, I got a question from one of our YouTube listeners. That's doing Simulcast. How are the new recruits feeling about the NIL deals? And is there a buzz on campus?
You want me to answer that?
Yes, John. The question is for you, by the way. Also, do we have an idea of when the new stadium would be built if everything comes together as planned?
So I would see that, this year would be kind of a planning, permitting type of process with voting and all that stuff. And, if we can get that done, I would say that sometime next year they'd start, to build it. And you're looking from that time frame. I'm thinking it would be 23, 24, if all works out, it would be for the year 25.
Okay.
And as it relates to the players, I think the players are ecstatic. In fact, I got pulled aside with, by somebody from the airport that I'd rather not provide the name of, and he said that they were really, really happy with the fact that the players had been telling, all the people around them and other players have learned, and how happy they were with the product, the process of everything that's going on. I think it's gotten really.
I wanted to jump in and say one thing, John. Everyone always focuses on the money aspect of this, but the mentorship that you're providing to these guys, the excitement level is not just with the players, but the families, right? There's the parents, moms, dads, uncles, high school coaches, people who are just, it's not, again, this isn't just the money aspect of it, but the things that you're teaching them, when they're able to go in the office and you're able to get with them. It's those life lessons that, I think a lot of these families are excited about and people are seeing from the outside. So it's not just the money aspect of this.
Yeah, Peter, I think you were there that Sunday that we aired, and that was a pretty special night with all those players there and being live and understanding, what the preparation is about and just feeling comfortable about speaking, on camera and, feeling good about themselves and, feeling accomplished, right? Because when you get an NIL deal, it's really yours. I remember, the first car that I ever bought that I was able to buy on my own, it just felt different than when my dad was able to get me a car when I was younger. I just think it's a different feeling when you earn it yourself, which I think is a really good sort of overall understanding of what life is about. These kids are starting to get older and, they have to be responsible about everything they do. And to learn, the finances behind what goes on, right? It's not just making money. You got to figure out about paying taxes. And, young people tend to spend money as if it's never going to run out and they're always going to have it. But I think they a lot of times understand that, they got to save. And the stories that we hear about them helping parents and doing things like that are just, really, really positive. So I think Peter, hit the nail on the head. And it's not just me, to be honest with you. Diana Diaz, has an enormous amount of experience in TV, and she's, super animated. She's got a lot of energy. We've used a lot of the kids, even when we had the boat show. We had Jake, Tyler, and Morgan. I just think it's really good all around, and I agree with what Peter's saying. It's just that, one of the things that I've learned, and which is a really good thing, one would think that, the NIL deals and the amount that people get is determinative of where they go. And I've seen something totally different than that.
Hey, John, I was actually on that, the Zoom. I was the only one with my picture, and it was funny. Some of the players, when I was at in the locker room with my nephew, who's on the football team, actually came up to me. They're like, "I remember you. You were the one that was in the Zoom." And by the way, John, thank you so much for giving Danny and myself accolades when you were talking. I mean, we really love doing these spaces for you, and that we're here for you 1,000% of the time.
And we also simulcast on YouTube as well. So my YouTube listeners that watch me get questions out to you guys as well. So that's great job there.
Well, I think you guys downplay your own input into this. I think it's much greater than what you even probably realize that you guys do. So I thank you guys, from the bottom of my heart. I think in order to get one of these programs to be successful, you need guys like you that really feel it. And, again, look, one of the things that I've been really, really impressed with, and I think I heard it from Jason Taylor today. Forget where I saw it. He was interviewed somewhere. Maybe it was on Twitter. I saw a video. No, actually, I forget now, to be honest. But anyways, one of the things he said, struck me as so true, which is the fans are just amazing. They're unbelievable. And that goes a really long way because the players feel that energy. Everybody starts to understand the dynamics of what exactly it's all about. And I think that goes a really, really long way. So, the more you guys contribute in the ways that you do, it really is very, very helpful. And I think Peter, who's on the line, and I'm not saying this is on the line, I'm a straight up guy. I think Peter is a superstar. Peter knows these guys. He's very respected. He's been doing this. I was on the plane with some older guys, and they knew exactly who Peter was, and that he writes up on the players. And that in and of itself, and when we were doing the NIL deals, Peter was instrumental in answering the phone all the time and getting things done. for first round management. So I think that's important too. I think the agents, the lawyers, and one of the things I've also seen, for example, I spoke to the agent for Isaiah Wong, and these guys are really helpful, quite frankly. They really go, above the call of duty. They care about the players, which to me is super important, because I think that's one of the things Peter was saying too.
Well, John, one of the things that you and I spoke to privately about is if we could coordinate maybe with Peter, since he's the conduit to the players, and first round management has the NILs they're representing. If we could get a couple of players a week to take Q&A in a space like we're doing right now,
and also on a simulcast on YouTube as well.
I mean, and they'll just get the vibe, the love, the feeling. They could also share that with recruits that are deciding, hey, this is a fan base that's very knowledgeable, very articulate, very loving, down-to-earth people. We get into spaces with them and we talk like we're regular human beings. And that's what they want to be treated like. So if you could, maybe link Peter up with me and Danny, we would love to get these kids on during the season, or
absolutely.
We could arrange 2-3 conferences a week. And if you want to step in, and Johnny wants to step in, or Christy, or
Alex,
we would really love to do that and really get this going.
So Peter,
I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah. So Peter is friends with my two boys, and I think he probably speaks to quite often. And obviously, he's very, very close with our organization, so to speak. We have a great relationship with first round management, and it's Malky, but obviously Peter is sort of the face of that relationship.
Before we go, we have a question. We do have a question.
Yeah, guys, listen. I we can definitely get something going, John. I appreciate the kind words. Once again, we can definitely we can definitely try to coordinate something. I'd like to make this. We can make it a legit thing. So
okay, absolutely.
We can definitely connect on that.
Okay, guys,
John,
Peter, I have a question.
You could just text him my phone number, John, if you can.
Okay, yeah.
That would be great.
Excuse me, guys. We have a question here for John. Hank Vera on YouTube asked, you're focused on the right things to get more fans involved. Do you know if there's going to be any stuff for the football season once that starts, such as tailgate socials, etc.?
So, look, I'm going to give you this much, but I don't want to give too much because, like I said before, I don't like to discuss things that are told to me unless I'm told that I can say them. But I can tell you that I was the first one to tell, at the university that we need to get, tailgating back up and running. So, I think I have a respectful relationship with everybody at the university and vice versa. So, I'm trying to help as best as I can, and the university, administration, you got to really give them a lot of credit. They're really kind of stepping up to the plate, right? So they understand this. And they were very thankful that I had gotten the fans out there. So a good working relationship to the extent that it could even be called that, because I have to keep an arm's length distance from them because of what I do on the NIL side.
Pete, you wanted to add something to that? I know you were saying something earlier.
No, I don't think there was anything else I necessarily needed to add to that.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Ruiz? Please hit the request button.
Also, we have Harvey Salas as well that was going to speak. I want to see if we can get him to speak.
I would like to give Harvey Salas a big shout out as well. He's a guy who flew in last minute to support the Canes at the Elite Eight. Another all-time great Cane. He's a great one, and he came to support. So you know.
And I saw him pitch a perfect game.
All right.
Daniel, can we get him on here?
He's on right now. Let's get him in.
I just invited him to speak.
Okay, good. Harvey, good evening. Good evening, Harvey, and welcome.
What's up, guys? Hey, Danny, thanks for having me. Thanks for setting this up, man. And to Pete's point, I was fortunate enough to fly into Chicago yesterday just for the game, man. What an atmosphere! I mean, I was sitting in the trenches. I was sitting in a full Kansas section by myself, but man, I was proud to be there, man. The Elite Eight. The guy sitting next to me telling me he'd been to 3 or 4 Final Fours, and I looked around. I had to realize, man, we're playing Kansas, and like you mentioned, is one of the big time blue blood programs. So the fact that we were there, it was unfortunate we got into some foul trouble. I thought that we didn't necessarily play our game, and I think that Kansas kind of got us out of whack in that second half. That run was really impressive on their part. I mean, they just got out and got running, and Pete and I spoke about it after the game. I'm not a big, blame the refs guy, but there was certainly some calls that went, against us there that I think really switched the momentum. But all in all, what a tremendous season, man.
You couldn't have said it better, Hobby. Drew, you have a question?
Oh, what's up, guys? No, I just got into the chat, so I'm just listening and get my questions formulated first.
Okay.
Harvey, we have a question from Dylan Moore on YouTube. We'd like to know your thoughts on the United Center. How impressive did you think that place was?
Man, the United Center was cool, man. I think, just walking in, you see that big Jordan statue, and you kind of realize where you're at, right? I mean, some great basketball has been played on that floor, so it was really cool to be there. I think John mentioned it was probably like 99% Kansas fans, so it was loud. That's not to say that that Canes section was bumping, man. When that first half we were rolling, it was a whole lot of fun, and the second half, like I said, I kind of got out of control, but it was fun to be there. It was a great environment, and just proud of our team, man.
I got a question for Mr. Ruiz. Hold on, let's get to Latchland because he had his hand up for a little bit. Latchland, what's up, my brother?
Hey, what's up, guys? I have a question about football, bro. How do you guys think Mario Cristobal has improved NIL overall?
Improve the NIL?
Yes.
I mean, 98%.
98?
Yeah, I don't think, I think that some people think that the NILs is what drives kids here. I don't find that to be the case. I find, that they know and understand that they're likely going to get an NIL. But I think people are following Cristobal. Cristobal is off the charts.
Okay.
Real deal guy. He's amazing. The energy, the drive. I mean, he's the guy that you want to be leading a major company. If you had a major company, he's the kind of CEO that a major corporation would want to have.
Right, because what I've noticed, because I'm a car salesman, and what I've noticed is when Cristobal took over from Manny Diaz, I've really noticed the cars increase in price over the course of his tenure. So I'm really hoping to get some NIL deal action going for this upcoming season.
Yeah, again, look, I think the guy's a superstar, and not only is he a superstar, but the guy's brilliant. I mean, he's a super smart guy. I have a lot of respect for him, and I think he's going to kill it at the university. I think he's putting everything together. I think, it's probably a lot to ask for to win a national championship, just coming in to the
right.
team. But I do think that in the next couple of years, I mean, we're definitely for sure going to have a very good season.
Exactly.
I think we're going to see the day when this is really just going to take off.
Go Canes, boys! Thank you.
Lou Hadley doing wonders, baby. For the
Speaking of that, John, whatever happened with his NIL in that you were working on with him?
We're still working on it because there are some legal challenges for it, and I think we've come to the realization that it can be done, but he's got to go to his home to record from there, because now that would be a violation of immigration laws.
Okay.
I think we're there already. I mean, meaning that we have, a deal in concept. Now all we're doing is trying to get it papered right.
Okay, we got Kane Man Up. You have a question?
Mr. Ruiz, everywhere I look, you're on my screen. You're courtside Heat game. You're at the Elite Eight. You're living the life, brother.
I'm one of triplets, so there's 3 other times. Just kidding.
You're everywhere. Everywhere I look, you're on my screen. Yeah, what'd you think of that Jimmy Butler scuffle with Spoelstra?
I thought it was with Udonis, right? I didn't watch much other than just them, going back and forth. But listen, I think we've all seen situations where even with close friends, tempers flare and things happen. So,
it could be a good thing, right?
Sometimes people just put that to rest and we kind of move on, right? So I don't make much of those things a lot of times because they're transitory.
Yeah, and do you like the Tyreek Hill signing?
I do. I like it a lot. As a matter of fact, they wanted me to work out an NIL deal when he was in Kansas City, and I said no. But now that he's here in Miami, I'm thinking that for cigarette boats, he may be a great catch, and sort of that he's so fast, and cigarette boats are so fast. So I'm trying to kind of piece something together there.
That would work.
Yeah, have both.
John, I'm going to share a story with you. This was told to me by Coach Stroud about Tyreek Hill, and he was at Oklahoma State, and his girlfriend burnt a cigarette in his face, and he overreacted. Coach Stroud was then the defensive coordinator at Akron, University of Akron. He offered him a scholarship, and he accepted. And then when the president found out about it, they're like, we're not taking this kid. So Coach Stroud bent over backwards, and he contacted his friend at the University of Western Alabama, and he pushed hard for him to get to Western Alabama. And that was his last chance, and the kid never looked back. And the kid is an amazing kid, according to what Coach Stroud told me.
I know he's fast as hell. I know that much. I don't know him personally. I've heard good things, about him because from the Drew Rosenhaus camp, they were trying to work out a deal with me. But I personally don't find that much of a benefit overall for purposes of what my mindset is in terms of the professional players, because those guys have made it already. Then it becomes a business more than kind of what I'm trying to do, which is getting kids the off-field component of what I think makes them better young men. Tyreek Hill is already making millions of dollars, so it becomes just a pure business transaction.
Okay, we have a question from one of our YouTube list followers that has watched the simulcast in his space tonight. Is there any updates you could share on that lawsuit, John?
Which lawsuit? The one against the FHSA?
I believe that's the one, yes.
So we've had 2 judges recuse themselves from the case. One judge recused himself because he was an investor in MSB, so he couldn't be on the case. And then the other judge, I believe, had to recuse himself because his son is an actual college athlete, and therefore his son would be a putative member of the class. So now a 3rd judge got it, so we're waiting for a hearing. We've already filed our motion for class certification. I think we have a really good case and a great shot at it. So I'm hoping that we'll have some adjudication, during the month of April. I see my son Alex is on.
Johnny's in here too.
Is he? Okay. So I'm going to just, monitor and listen in because I got to check some emails and do some stuff. So I'm going to let them do it, but I'll stay on just listening. And then as soon as I'm done, I'll join back on.
Okay, thanks.
My kids are smarter than me anyway. So
I'm gonna plead. I'll tell you something. An old friend, my uncle's late friend, once said to me, "Plead the fifth."
All right, so I'm going to mute my mic and I'll let Alex is here as a speaker. I don't see Johnny. You said Johnny's on?
I see him in here.
Is he?
I invited him to speak.
Okay. Well, like I said, they know a lot more sports than I do, and they're smarter than me, so you're going to get some good feedback. Oh, yeah, I see John now. Because the thing is that John now is a sophisticated guy, so he's got this very funky looking logo. So I wasn't able to recognize it.
Okay. Any of you can answer this. Johnny, Alex, can you? Is there any? Like you said, there was some. John, like John mentioned it earlier. Can we? We're going to ask if the new stadium can be built like the Orange Bowl used to be.
You guys are asking me?
Yes, you or Johnny can answer this question.
Okay. So I guess to answer very broadly, yes. But so we're working on the design in general. We haven't really locked down what the actual stadium design would look like yet from a aesthetic point of view. But I guess I could just say this is that so the baseball complex in West Palm, where the Houston Astros and
the Washington Nationals. The Washington Nationals.
So we're gonna take some concepts from there where they kind of build up into a stadium where I think also it's in Dallas as well that you're kind of at ground level and then the stadium's somewhat below you when you walk in. So that's kind of one of the concepts that I think is cool. So as you walk into the stadium, you'll be at ground level with where the bowl is, and then the field will be below you. But we are going to have kind of that U shape, which is to resemble the Orange Bowl in a way. And then we're going to also have some sort of a roof. But right now what we're working on is just the overall location of where it would go. Because we're getting site plans and all that of what Tropical Park allows you to do from setbacks, and a lot of times these parks have certain restrictions of underground stuff that you can't go down because there's some pipes or something there. So we're getting all that information to figure out where we could actually put the stadium on a physical point of view, and then once we have that, then we can talk about more of the aesthetic design. But from an overall concept, that's kind of what we come up with. And the guys in charge are doing a very good job. Actually, guys and girls, they have a great team, HKS. They did a bunch of, very cool projects. So we're very excited with what they've done. And we'll see, hopefully in the next, maybe month or two, an actual rendering of what the stadium itself will look like. But, first we have to find a location of where it would be able to sit on the park.
Okay, well, one follow-up also from Jack Hansen. Would there be a plan to play big games like FSU still at Hard Rock to accommodate more fans, or will it be exclusively at the new stadium site?
I guess that's a question for UM. That's not really for us. But this stadium will fit probably close to 70 if you really want to expand it, because we're going to create it so that you can have 50 and it'll feel full. But you could also add some seats and make it up to 70. So I don't know what Hard Rock's capacity is right now, but I don't think it's much more than that. I don't even think they get to 70 at this point. I think they're in the high 50s, low 60s right now. So from a capacity point of view, I don't think there would be much difference.
Gio, you had a question for Johnny.
Yeah, to answer what Johnny was saying, Hard Rock's capacity is at 65,000 right now. Johnny, I had a question for you. On the stadium plans, I know, aside from that whole deal, what you guys want to do with that, aside from that, what else do you guys want to add at the Tropical Park location?
Yeah, so that's actually a good question and something that I think sometimes gets overlooked. So right now, Tropical, I think they have 4 baseball fields, either a small baseball field or a softball field. They have that football stadium, and then they have a couple soccer fields that are those new ones, and then they also have like the full-size soccer fields. They also have some tennis courts. So a lot of those deals right now are actually private, public like leases in a way that somebody will come in and say, hey, Tropical Park, we want to use this land to build this. And they essentially make a pitch to the county. And the county will either accept it or reject it, or they'll put it up for kind of a bid. And people say, what they want to do with the land and see if it makes sense. So that's kind of how that process works. But from what we're planning to do is we want to have kind of like an ESPN Wide World of Sports type of concept where we have facilities for everything. We're going to have, indoor cheerleading, gymnastics, basketball, obviously softball, baseball. So we're going to have everything. And we just think that right now, from what we've seen, there's no real plan for the park. It's kind of just like whoever wants to do something in a certain place can say, hey, I want to do something here and do it. There's not much of a game plan for the overall concept. So I think that's kind of where we come in, where we want to design the entire plan for the park so that it's done in an organized fashion.
I believe Franco had his hand up. Franco, please speak.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Stocks, for holding this. And thank you to Ruiz family for the effort you guys are putting out there for the UM and the community. The question was pretty much answered because I came in late where the location is kind of being narrowed down to, which is the Tropical Park. The question is, I know John mentioned that it would be on ballot towards the end of November, but kind of goes by pretty quickly, and we kind of got to get that on the ballot and start to get the community rallying around, the yes vote on that amendment or whatever's going to be put on. Do you guys have a hard cutoff date that you guys would need an answer to be on that ballot for November?
So we're still talking to the park. We have to set something up relatively soon to do that. So that's actually a very good point. But I think in the next couple months, because I don't want to go to the city and not have anything in hand ready to deliver and say, hey, this is the game plan that we want to execute. So once we have that game plan executed, which should only take another month, then we'll have some real firepower to go after them with and kind of pitch what we want to do. Because right now we don't have enough information to give them for them to even give us a yes or a no, I mean, at least in my opinion. So once we get that, then I think that we can move forward. And I mean, everyone's kind of aware of what we're doing in terms of what the game plan is. So at least we've kind of put the word out there a little bit, although not a formal, kind of political, pitch with the advertisements and all that stuff. But I think that will come with time. And I don't think you need a ton of time to really market that, maybe a couple months or 3 months or something like that. And we're doing traffic studies and the whole thing. So we'll have all the information out there. I want to have as much information as possible so, we can back up what we're saying.
Okay. Question for the baseball guys. Johnny, Alex, Harvey. How do you feel about the baseball team right now after the big sweep against North Carolina over the weekend? And how far do you think this team can go?
Well, I guess I'll answer that question first. What's up, guys? So honestly, we all should be very happy right now. I kind of want to touch base, because we haven't been on one of these spaces, from what the whole entire college basketball had ran. Me personally, I haven't been. I think that the Canes basketball team did a phenomenal job, and we're looking forward to that program going up. From where we are now, we just set the bar. Now we got to go past what we just were able to do now, and build upon that and get this program back up to where it needs to be in terms of being a threat every single year to get to where we did, this year, and also hopefully bring it to the Final Four in years to come. So, to congratulate the whole fan base, I was very excited watching all those games. And to answer your baseball question, I think that the team is young. there's some guys that need to step up and perform. So, if those guys step up and perform and Palmquist can throw like a true number one, I think that, we'll be really good in terms of that because, if he can throw and be at his best, more likely than not, especially in the playoffs, we're going to be able to win the games that he throws, and that gives you an advantage. The freshmen that they're throwing on Saturdays, I spoke with JD Arteaga about him a couple weeks ago, and again, I texted with him the other day. I think the kid's a stud. I think that kid is, it's about how he matures throughout the season, and when it comes playoff time, what he can do there. And then, the bats, and then it comes down to who's going to step up and throw on Sundays. Is it Rosario? Is he going to perform well? I think he did well. I thought he threw very well on Sunday this week. So, if he can keep doing that and keep the ball down, I think that he'll be able to perform well. And Walters out of the bullpen is an absolute stud. So if we can keep getting good outings out of him, that's huge. And then, with the bats, it's all about situational hitting. Some of the young guys are performing now, and I'd like to see Yo-Yo show off his power a little bit more, which I think it'll come now. Sometimes you get a little nervous with the draft looming. So I think he'll turn it up too, and I think that we can make a run. It's all about getting hot at the right time.
Okay, there's a question somebody answered. Oh, go ahead, Harvey. Go ahead, Harvey.
No, if I can, quickly, Alex spoke to a lot of the stuff that, the good stuff that's going on. I mean, the ACC is absolutely stacked. Look, from top to bottom, the conference probably hasn't been this good in baseball in a long time. So each weekend is going to be, crucial in terms of finishing up in the top half of the standings and hopefully host a regional and super regional at home. But the thing that catches my attention is the pitching, right? So I think this weekend the biggest win for the weekend was Rosario looking like his old self. I think his velocity was back up. He got the punch outs, which is good to see. So if you get him in a groove, I mean, you imagine having a number one type of arm on a Sunday against some of these really powerful ACC teams. I mean, I saw a tweet that Rosario was up to 99 in the fifth inning. He did it 5 times. So I mean, you get Rosario back in shape, and you get that team cooking with a 1-2 punch of Palmquist on Friday and Rosario possibly on Sunday, and you got a stud in the back end of the bullpen. That pitching staff looks really formidable. As far as the bats, I mean, they'll come around. I think a guy like Yo-Yo, you saw him sort of get hot this week. He hit a couple balls out of the park. So when those guys get streaky and the season starts rolling, I really like this Kings team. They're just young. That's the only thing that it's a double-edged sword, right? These young guys, a lot of them haven't been in some of these big ACC series. On the other side, they're sort of fearless, right? So they go into these weekends not really knowing what to expect. And, last 2 weekends, they've had really positive results.
Yeah, and I'll chime in here at the end. So I agree completely with Javi. I think that having Rosario is kind of the X factor for this team in a way, because when you get into a regional, you kind of need 3 or 4 starters to get through it most of the time, unless you sweep the regional and you only need 3 games. But those regionals really test your bullpen and test your pitching depth. So I think that number one, they need to try to host a regional. I think that's the most important thing. I know I tweeted that I think a couple weeks ago. That's like the most important thing for this team, is to get that regional host, because playing down here at the Light is just a completely different ballgame than having to travel to one of these SEC schools and try to win a regional there. And then I think this team goes as far as the pitching staff takes them. I think their bats, will have some good weekends, have some bad weekends. I think Palmquist is, the real deal. I like Ligon a lot. And I think Zio and Walters out of the bullpen have been, pretty good as a combination. So this team's only going to go as far as the pitching staff takes them, in my opinion. And then, like my brother said, also situational hitting and making sure that they can put up just enough runs to get the job done. But again,
and to add up on that, I think it's important to note that all the teams that have made it to Omaha have had elite, pretty great defenses. So the last team that made it to Omaha, which was the team that my brother was on, John, you led you guys led the ACC, and I think all of college baseball in defense, correct? You were the number 1 defense?
Yeah, I think we had the best defense actually, like in UM history. We fielded I think as a team 980 something or something like that. That we we're an elite defense. And then we also had Zach Collins in the lineup and Carl Chester and Brandon Lopez and a lot of guys that could really hit. So
that is true.
In the top 1 or 2 in the country all year. So I don't think the team is that, but
no, definitely not. But it definitely could. What I'm saying is that with the pitching staff, the way that they are now, so especially with the bullpen, meaning like the guys need to step up in the bullpen. You know, Walters has done well, and you mentioned the other name, Ziegel, I believe it is. So the other guys in the bullpen, you know, when they come into pitch, a lot of them are not going to be strikeout guys. They're going to be guys that are relying on the defense. So the guys just need to make their plays, and I know Patelli can pick it at short. You know, it's about the other guys making the plays also, and you know, cutting down the errors. And if that can happen, I think that the pitching staff will do just fine.
Okay, back to football. Somebody asked a question earlier. What do you think is the most important player you're going to be looking for this year? And on another front, what is the connection with Marlins, man? He was with Mr. Ruiz in Chicago. Must be a big Canes fan.
Yeah, I don't know who the gentleman was with my dad. I'm not familiar with him, but in terms of like who we want to get as recruits, is that what you asked?
Yeah, who do you know? Recruits, yeah, one, but also who do you think the players you're gonna be looking that can make the biggest jump this year?
Oh, as in like current guys that were on the roster?
That is correct.
So I honestly think that the offensive line is going to take a big step up this year, just because we're going to have a little bit more of a balanced attack. And obviously, when these big old linemen get to run block, they get a little more excited than when they have to pass block. So I think that'll help them up front.
I think at corner is where we really need to step up. Corner play last year.
Even since coming back, and then we have, I believe, the DB from West Virginia. So I think that those two guys will be probably the starters if I had to guess. But
Ivy looks a lot in way better shape than he was last year. He looked when we saw him the other day at practice, he looked very strong, which I think is a plus. And Gilbert Frierson has gone into a lot better shape. So, you know, he has great football instincts too. So I think those guys, you know, need to step up as well.
I think Tyler Van Dyke is going to have a really good season too. Sorry to butt in with you guys.
Well, I'm hearing good things about this kid.
On the offensive side. Oh, sorry about that.
Go ahead, Peter. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Pete.
So we're going to go Peter, Pompano.
Yeah, Gio,
Nico, and then Gio.
Sorry, guys.
Daniel.
A couple guys offensively, I think are due for breakout years. Jacoby George and Brichard Smith. You know, they both bring a different skill set to the table. Both highly touted recruits coming out, but like Jacoby George is a guy that, I mean, from what I'm hearing, the buzz is big on him early in camp. Has had, you know, some big practices early on, and I mean, upside through the roof. I think he emerges as, you know, a number one guy for this team pretty early on.
Yeah, I agree. I saw him in practice, and he looked really, really good. So
why don't we put Gio on now? Because Gio has been at all the practices, and he's the reporter for Canes Insight. So maybe he could give us an update on everything.
Okay.
His opinion.
Yeah, and also before we do that, if you have something to say, please raise your hands so we can get as many in as we can. So, Gio, the floor is yours.
Hey guys, yeah. So I've been at every practice. Practice 6, though. Speaking about that practice, media was not allowed to view that portion that day, but I did have a lot of coaches, local coaches, that watched because the coaching clinic was going on. So yeah, I could back up what Peter was saying that Jacoby George, he's essentially stepped up as that wide receiver one in the room. I was told offhand, essentially, he had 7-8 catches for about over 150 during Saturday's scrimmage, and he was just getting by everyone. other guys standing out. Corey Couch, he's taken his game up another level. And funny enough, in the defensive backfield, who's actually looked pretty good, it has been Al Blades Jr. He's come back strong, coming off that injury, and he's been playing a lot at the star position, and they've had him playing outside as a corner as well.
Joe, you were talking about the kid from Alabama, the wide receiver, Daz Worsham. You said that he's really impressed. If you could share your information on that with the group, that would be very helpful.
Well, the thing with Daslin Worsham, coming out of high school, he ended up having a double hip surgery, and I was told what Rob Likens did, the prior wide receiver coach with Miami. He kind of had Daslin Worsham on a 2-year plans because he was not necessarily up to health when he arrived to Miami, and he was very much underweight. If you look at pictures from when he arrived to now, it's a big difference. He's gotten some burn with the ones here and there. Brichard Smith has done well out there. He's a little up and down and whatnot, but he flashes a lot. He's very impressive in the screen game. And, this is just to say about this also, when we're out there with the media, they let us see, 7-on-7 portion. We see a lot of the drills, and we see a lot of the 11-on-11 portion as well. Just the only thing is we're not allowed to take photo or video of that. So just take notes when I'm out there constantly. And, there's certain guys that are stepping up. I definitely agree with Alex and Johnny about the O-line. There has been improvement there, especially within the run game. The run blocking has definitely improved compared to last season.
Thank you.
Guys, do you think we can get Jose Duaso on the line? I think he'd be a good guy to chime in on the football team stuff as well.
Yeah, we're getting him on now. We're getting him on now. In fact, Jose, go ahead and speak, please.
Yep. Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
Hold on. I think Palm, you had your hand first. What's up, brother?
Paul Man, you're up, man.
Paul Man, you're up, buddy.
All I wanted to say is that Jayden Harris is on here, so you guys can know. That's all.
Okay.
You guys can have the floor.
Okay, so let's go to let's see if we get Jayden Harris in, but let's get Jose in first, then we'll get Jayden Harris.
How you guys doing? So I had the pleasure of having Jayden Rashada on the team this weekend, and I could say that I've had Sam Howell play for me. This kid's light years ahead of Sam Howell. I was in complete awe at the throws he was making, the general that he is, the way that he carries himself. He's a pure professional. I'm really excited for that kid's future, and really intrigued to see how his recruiting process plays out, especially at the University of Miami. I know Oklahoma was his leader, and they kind of went with a Texas kid because of political issues, and that leaves us right in a great position to hopefully land the kid.
Okay. Are we ready to get Jayden Harris on to speak, guys?
He's on.
All right, Jayden.
Franco had his mic up.
Okay, let's get Franco first, then we'll get Jayden.
I had a question for Alex, or whoever was talking about the stadium. What would happen if you guys did not find a piece of land that you thought would be a good spot for the stadium? Where would you go from there?
There's to answer the land question, we have a very extensive list of properties that are viable for this. So we're gonna find a piece of land. I wouldn't be concerned about that. And Tropical Park right now is jumping off the page. It would, with the proposal we're gonna make, it would be very difficult for them to tell us no.
But from a land perspective, there's almost 290 acres of land that you could. I mean, it only takes 25 or something for the footprint of a stadium. So there has to be some place to put it on that property in terms of like usable land. So I don't think that that's an issue with Tropical. The only issue with Tropical would be if the people wanted to have it or not. It boils down essentially to a vote. I don't think that it's the land that's the issue at Tropical. It's more of getting the people to vote for it. Obviously, if you own your own land and you can have the right zoning for it, then you can build a stadium if you have the land. That's the only problem with Tropical at this point.
Okay, now we have four-star recruit Jayden Harris on. Jayden, good evening and welcome, and introduce yourself to the fan base again.
What's going on, y'all? That's Jayden Harris here, man. I just wanted to show y'all this over space. I just wanted to see what was going on. See what you guys was talking about. That's all.
Welcome, young man.
Welcome, Jayden. Glad to have you on, buddy. Like always.
Yes, sir.
Gio.
Yeah, Jayden, I have a question for you. What are the coaches doing to have you prepare for coming into fall ball?
Sir, can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, what are the current coaches? What are they having you doing? Being away from the team right now, since you're not enrolled yet. What are they having you do to get prepared for when you come in for fall practice?
They sent me a book, a workout routine book, just to follow. It gives you pretty much what to do every single day versus like conditioning and lifting. So I've been following that. I've been doing that every day. But I'm also training with my trainer OD, and they trust that he's teaching me the right techniques and stuff like that. So I've just been doing both of those things and conditioning. That's pretty much it.
OD is one of the best, just for people who aren't out there, who aren't aware, OD is one of the best defensive back coaches in the country. Works with a lot of the top guys, based out of the Atlanta area, I believe. Works with a lot of top draft picks every year. Works with a lot of the, top guys, corners, safeties all across the country.
Jayden, still running track?
On my own, like I just been waking up, like trying to wake up. Like I see, like the guys, they be lifting like 6 in the morning. So I just been waking up at like 5 in the morning. And even though the gym, I just run, I watch film, just trying to get used to being up early because never really been up early, like working out like that. Really.
You're still in track, Jayden?
No, sir. I couldn't even. I didn't have the time in the day to be able to practice and run.
I got you. Yeah, I figured it would be too much.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Any questions for Jayden, guys? Man, you're welcome to ask. I mean,
I don't have any questions for Jayden, but the Poe man, you had some foresight a few months ago, man. You asked Joy about the comparison between Jason and Cyrus, and here we go. He's got the opportunity to work with him.
You're right, man. Yeah, for sure. He's got the same kind of build and that same kind of frame, and I think it's going to definitely be a plus for Moss. I mean, it's going to help him a lot having Jason around. I mean, you're looking at a Hall of Famer, man. So yeah, that'd be great. You're right.
I see Nico has his hand up, so let's get Nico in. Go ahead and speak, Nico.
Thank you, Daniel. This is questions towards the Ruiz family. I run into other projects before, and I know that FIU at some point when they want to expand, they run into it. I don't know if you guys have done an environmental study on mosquitoes in the area, and you may think it's the most absurd thing, but if you guys have or have not done the study on that, that can be a big hurdle in the project in itself. I know FIU had it. I know up north in Orlando, there's been a couple projects we've run into that issue. So,
yeah, it's interesting. I'll definitely look into the environmental stuff. We're not really at that point yet. We're still working on kind of where on the property we'd put it, and we'd have to get all those studies done. But we're in obviously close contact with HKS, and they're working on the project. I actually met with them last week in their office. They're in the Gables, and that's kind of the last update I've had, but I'll reach out to them again. I know that we had adjusted some things, but we had worked on getting a civil engineer because there's some reservoir ponds there of water to see where we could move those potentially. Also to do a study on what lies beneath the ground there, and a bunch of other stuff that you kind of have to look at. In terms of environmental, I guess that's another step that we haven't gotten to yet. But once we get there, I'll definitely let you guys know what the update on that is.
Okay, Gmo man, you requested to speak. You have a question?
Yeah, I was looking. Is the Miami Morals coach still here, or is still a speaker?
Unfortunately, I don't think I see him.
I don't think so.
Looks like
Okay, gotcha. No, I was just curious to how Rashad feels with the Miami Morals and the assets that he has with Jaylen Brown and Robbie Washington. Can someone speak on that knows from insight in regards to their relationship?
Well, the question again?
Their relationship. How's the relationship between those guys, Robbie Washington, Jaylen Brown, and Rashad?
The relationship between them, I know we actually sponsored the team. I was actually with them. We did a barbecue the other day, but Rashad wasn't there. I couldn't. Once I meet with the coaches of the team, probably tomorrow at some point or Thursday, I'll be able to tell you more detail. But I think Gio wanted to say something on that.
Yeah, speaking on that, Jaylen wasn't able to go out to the event the Immortals were just out at.
Yeah.
But Robbie was playing with Rashada over the weekend.
Yeah, I saw that. But he will be playing with them next weekend, from my understanding, correct?
Yeah, Rashada will be in Miami next weekend. Yes.
And Jaylen will be there as well.
Jaylen will be there. I have to confirm with the coaches that he's able to play, because I know he has track. But I would assume yes, he's playing. And I've heard absolutely great things about Rashada as a character. How his character is with the guys on the team. I spoke to some of the other guys on the team. They loved him. And obviously, if you just watch the film of what he put an absolute clinic on up there in Texas. Obviously, what happens is they lost in the finals, but they had 3 touchdowns called back in the final. If not, they would have absolutely killed the team. It was a little bit of Texas home cooking, because the Texas team ended up beating them. But I believe there's going to be a SFE versus Miami Immortals, and I think a couple other two big time teams from down here. I believe it's DEF CON, or I'm not familiar with the 7-on-7 circuit that much yet. But there's 2 other teams I believe that are playing, and Rashada will be there, and that Washington to Washington combo there was pretty lethal in Texas, and there are some heavy winds out there. I think that here in Miami, it'll be very exciting to watch. I might take some popcorn into that game.
Piggybacking off of what Alex was saying, those 2 other teams he's referencing would be DEF CON and Florida Fire. For anyone that's interested in watching, April 9th at Mylander Park, Immortals will be there and whatnot. So anyone interested in watching that.
And I think they'll be rocking the new cigarette uniforms there that day as well.
Dan, you should do a space one of these days with all the top 7-on-7 team kind of, everyone, all the, owners and managers of the team. I think it'd be good to get a summit, just talking about a lot of the top guys, all at once. That would be a nice
I think we should. I think a lot of us should actually go out there and show support for those teams out at the game. It'll be pretty cool to watch. And obviously, we want a lot of these top talents to actually come to Miami. So I think that them seeing some of the support will do along. Will do great for that. And obviously, we got the Washington brothers committed. Hopefully, we land Jaylen Brown and hopefully Rashada as well, and some of the other guys too on the team that are very good.
Mark Fletcher's on that team, correct?
What time is that, Alex? I'm sorry.
Gio, you know the time?
The time? No, I gotta ask Duaso again. But
let us know, Gio, please.
I'll tweet it out.
And that way I can get it out there.
In regards to someone asked about Mark Fletcher. Mark Fletcher plays for South Florida Express.
Oh boy.
Okay, we have Hurricane 365 that wants to speak, so let's let him speak. Go ahead.
Hey, I got a question. Do you guys have any info on the spring game tickets?
I can answer that. The only thing they've told us is April 16th. They haven't confirmed the location, but from basically just talking around with people, it's most likely going to be at the Inter Miami Stadium.
It is going to be. It is confirmed. It will be in Fort Lauderdale at noon. It'll be on ACC Network. It is going to be in Fort Lauderdale, and it will be at noon.
Is it free entry or are they selling tickets? What site?
From what I'm understanding, it's free entry. Gio, you want to answer that?
Yeah, usually the way that goes with the spring games, usually what they do is they try to give first picking to anyone that has season tickets. That's what they've done before in the past. And then obviously it's free entry, at least from what I can recall from going to spring games in the past.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Oh, I have a question, if you don't mind. I appreciate you, Daniel, for letting me on. This question's for Gio. So I know you were in the coaches clinic for the Hurricanes this past weekend. Would you say that there was a large array of strong Cuban men, high school coaches, just so we keep the culture centered around Miami and around Cubanos?
Yeah, actually there was. Speaking on that, I didn't really sit in much on the clinic on Saturday. I was dealing with some other things, and then there's things on campus and whatnot. I was getting some interviews, but I did see Edo as I was sitting outside of the shorts. Got to speak with Edo a bit, but I spoke with multiple coaches that went, and basically I was told like Sean McVay is essentially a whiz. Like the things he was coming up with off the top of his head, like people were blown away.
Oh, okay. Do you think that any of his wisdom was imparted on kind of our coaches, so it'll help us moving forward in the season?
Speaking on that, yeah, I would say to an extent. Reason being is I know that with his staff, especially with Mario, he's not really the stubborn type where he's not what's better words for it? He's not the type that says, I'm the smartest guy in the room. He's more of yeah, I know I'm smart, but how can you help me? And yeah, basically that.
Appreciate you, Gio.
Thank you. Paul, man, you had a question, my man?
I just wanted to say that Jayden said thanks to everybody because he had to get off. He's got family from out of town, and he just didn't want to be rude. And he sent me a text to let me know. So just so everyone knows, that's why he had to step out. But he came out for a little bit, and he has family over from out of town. So, but he did come on because he had told me he had come on. He didn't want to, look back. So. He's a class act. He's a great kid.
Good kid, absolutely. Paul, man, you're the baseball guy, by the way. Big sweep last weekend.
Hey, man, you guys were talking about it. I think, as hard as I've been on this team when the year started, I'm also going to give credit where credit's due. And I've seen a big improvement pretty much overall. You guys kind of all talked about it. Pitching is coming around. I think this guy's a hit, and if Yo-Yo can keep going what he's doing now, which that's what he's very capable of. He's an unbelievable hitter, and Romero, somebody's got to teach him how to hit the slider and the changeup, and we can get him going. Kind of stay back when he's a little bit too anxious at the plate, but it's something that he can work with. The kid's got a lot of power. He's got bat speed, and but listen, man. If they can get solid and stay solid up the middle, and they got good speed on the team, they got good closer, they got a couple of starters. If we get this kid back, I think. We had a great week and we won 6 out of 7. We beat 13th ranked and 12th ranked Clemson and North Carolina. So I think it was a great week. And these kids, they're young, like we said. But you know what? The more success they had, the more they're going to believe in themselves. And I think this was a big week for them, a really big week. They got a tough schedule ahead. But I don't know. I kind of see a lot of positives here,
Mitch, You had your hand up. Go ahead, Mitch.
Hey guys, just want to talk a little recruiting. I didn't know if anyone noticed two under-the-radar linebackers, both 3 stars, Tommy Bruin and Jermaine Puller, both from Ohio. I've gotten light interest. I don't know if anyone's aware of them.
Gio, you want to take that one potentially?
Just to ask you a question back, did they visit recently?
No, they haven't visited yet. They're 2023 recruits.
Okay. Yeah, no, the only linebacker that I'm aware of that is visiting this week, I actually found that out today, is Troy Bowles, Todd Bowles' son. He'll be visiting. I know Raul Aguirre, he'll be visiting close to the spring game, as well as Anthony Hill out of Texas.
Okay.
Little back. Yeah. And with a little background on Raul Aguirre, his father actually played and went to school with Coach Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal as well at Columbus.
Good stuff. Thanks.
Thank you, Mitch. Who had their hand up?
I think it was Jamo.
I did, but I see Alex is not on no more. I wanted to ask Alex a question.
Franco?
I got nothing right now.
Okay. Nothing from the YouTube people watching tonight.
Dan, it's a shame that Chance Matt couldn't join us tonight. I know he really wanted to.
Yeah, he had to. Yeah, Pete, he had to pull out. He just messaged me. He had to pull out. Something came up on that end. So hopefully we get him on a future space.
Yeah, Peter, since you have about 90% of the guys that have the NILs, if you could maybe we could arrange, a couple of nights a week, we could get 2 or 3 of the players on at a time, so the fan base could get to know the players. We could just ask them some questions, and I think it would be good, for the players. It would be good for the fans. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't want to turn this into an advertisement for trying to get guys deals or anything like that. But just so everyone understands, this isn't just NIL deals. Aren't just all right. Here's thousands of dollars to a guy for social media posts, stuff like that. There's the ability to do, and this is for a lot. I'm kind of speaking to people who are local businesses. It could be something as simple as a body shop, a car body shop. Someone has a fender bender or something, and you get an NIL deal. You give out an NIL deal. You help them get their car done, and they do something in return for it. Again, that's what this whole thing is. It has to be something in return. But any local businesses that want to work with Canes players, again, this doesn't have to be something that is just thousands of dollars and just cash deals. Necessarily, local businesses reach out to me if you guys want to get involved with some of these guys. Then my DMs are always open.
Okay, we get BP in here. Let's get BP to speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, just going to Peter's comment. Peter actually mentioned Chicago at the game. It was nice meeting you, man. I'm an insurance agency. I mean, if you guys got tons of people in here, hell yeah, I'd pay money to pay for some guy to come speak in here, and you get one client out of it, pays for itself. So hell yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, we can set, Dan, let's talk, man. There's a lot of things we can set up through this, local businesses that want to, sponsor a segment, stuff like that. I think with the community behind it, we can do a lot of great things. I mean, like I said, guys, this is everything that we do from an agency standpoint, and obviously everything with LifeWallet has been by the books, but everything we do is sent into the compliance, sent into Craig Anderson over at Miami, and everything's approved beforehand. We did a deal recently. Malky Kawa, the owner of First Round Management, did a deal with Ocean Auto Club, got Leonard Taylor, an electric charger. So that was a more that's more grand deal. But that was something that obviously had to be worked through the school, had to be not worked through the school, but basically let them know this was happening, show them the paperwork, and we got the go ahead before we do anything. So yeah, man, let's try to brainstorm and make some things happen.
By all means.
I know the speaker earlier, Lachlan, I think he said he either worked or owned a car dealership.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
I'm not sure.
My DMs are open, guys, and my email, I believe, is in my bio as well. So
I worked at a car dealership for a long time. I worked in the auto industry for 27 years.
Are you trying to give out some cars to recruits?
Well, actually, I got out about a year ago out of the car business. Now I'm doing, I just got my real estate license, and I'm doing real estate. So,
you trying to give some houses to recruits? They don't need to be staying in the dorms.
That'd be pretty cool. Hey, I wish I could, man. I would, trust me. But I'm doing pretty good with the real estate. But yeah, I know a few guys in the car business. Maybe I think there was one dealer that did do that. Give a car and as an NIL deal. That's a pretty cool thing. And actually, it's a hell of a promotion for the dealership, if you ask me. That way, I don't know why there's not more car dealerships not doing that. That would be a very good thing to do. It would give the dealership an amount of advertising for basically they trust me, they can afford to give a car away to a dealership. I know I've been in the business a long time. They make a lot of money. They make a lot of money.
And Peter, my uncle is the founder of BurgerFi. He's a publicly traded company. They just bought out Anthony's Coal Fire Pizza last year. I could talk to Anthony Bruno, see what we can do for some of the players.
Yeah.
So let me add something to this.
Please do.
This is John again. I think that Johnny and Alex drop off.
Yes.
It did. Okay. Let me say a couple things because I gotta jump on something else. I was working on something. So listen, while NIL deals are great, we have to be really careful because there's so many loopholes that ultimately what people need to understand, if something goes wrong with an NIL deal, the ones that suffer are the players. Focus on.
John, I think you're breaking up.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, John.
That we got to be careful with, the NIL deals because if they're not done right, the entity providing the NIL deal doesn't suffer. The ones that suffer are the players and the university.
Agree.
So what I mean by that is, while the cars and everything else could be great, we got to understand that it's got to be done in a certain way.
Yes.
So what I've done, because I know that there are other businesses that want to do it, I've extended out, my knowledge of this, which I think is very profound, and our firm is also. I'm not going to charge anybody. I just want to make sure that for the interests of the kids and the university, it's all done kosher. And there's a certain sense of, coordination too, because you got to coordinate all this. Because if you don't coordinate it properly, then at that point in time, there could be overlap and issues that are created, as a result of that. So what I simply am trying to convey is, if you guys know companies that want to, extend NIL deals out, which is great, let's just make sure. I'm more than happy to kind of walk them through it. I want to make sure that they just do it right.
John, are you also concerned regarding the 11-7 scholarships? Because Vanderbilt, I'm seeing, has an unfair advantage since they're a private school. Hopefully those NIL level out, the 11-7 scholarships.
So, I think ultimately what's happening is the United States Supreme Court decision really dealt with what can a school provide. It really didn't deal with NIL deals, right? What it dealt with was whether or not a school can dictate how much compensation can be provided to a player for tuition purposes. So that's what that case dealt with. It wasn't directly with an NIL, but sort of the explanation given by the United States Supreme Court led to the NCAA opening it up for an NIL deal because, part of the arguments concerned that. So they knew that was coming, and, obviously a university that gets stung with a violation of an antitrust law opens up the door for a substantial amount of compensation, which is one of the things that I'm doing in the lawsuit, right? So what I'm saying in the lawsuit is, hey, you have this law, you prohibited these players from earning money in the past, and as a result of that, you're going to now have to pay these players for the amount of money that they were not able to earn because you had these laws. And obviously there was a market that was available to them, as we see now. So, look, the long and the short of it is that because NIL is kind of like a gray area right now, I think quickly we're going to see the NCAA, come out with other rules and regulations. But I think the NCAA is kind of taking a back seat to see if Congress does it, because what they want to make sure of is if Congress does it, then they have a lot less liability, because it's not a law that was created by them. It was a law that was created by Congress. So there's a lot of moving parts. While people are very excited about NILs, they also could be very dangerous.
Can I follow up to that, Mr. Ruiz?
Yes.
Since you're an attorney, how would you be able to kind of get some leeway or bypass into these legal issues? That way we can set smooth sailing into Miami recruiting.
Well, I think that's what I've already done with our NIL platform. But my concern is that, I've seen these other platforms created around the country, and I think they're all going to get slammed. If the NCAA starts pressing buttons, and that's going to happen. From my experience as a litigator, I know it's going to happen. And when they start pressuring, and what's going to happen is, you just think about it. Some of them establish a 501c3, which is a nonprofit organization. And then they have all these people pumping money into these organizations. Well, if I'm litigating for the NCAA, which is kind of what we need to think about, is I'm going to ask to say it's Mr. Smith. I'm just picking a name, just as an example. Yeah. There is no Mr. Smith. It's an example. Mr. Smith, decides to donate $1 million or $2 million to a 501c3. And that 501c3 in turn is paying players. My first question is, Mr. Smith, when in your history did you ever donate to an unknown, brand new 501c3 and pump that much money into it, right? I mean, who's pumping money into the United Way or some of these other organizations at that level without having some historicals on what they do with the money? I mean, no wise businessman is just pumping money like that. So it's quite obvious that the reason why they're doing it is for it to make it to the players. What my position is, hey, I have a legitimate business, which is Life Wallet MSP, and that business is promoting itself through these players, and we normally do advertising anyways, and it's well within our budget of what we do because of the size. The other thing that happens is you can't get a company that generates $3 or $4 million a year of revenue, and that's the size of the company, and all of a sudden they spend $2 million on NILs. There's got to be and this is not written in the law, right, in this fashion, but this is the way that you prove a circumstantial case. So if there's a business pumping in $2 million, but their revenue is $3 million, or they just make up a business to pump in money, all those kinds of platforms are going to have problems. And that's why we need to really be careful, right? Because at the end of the day, we all want to win, but we really don't want to harm the players, which I think are front and center. But if we harm a player, it could have repercussions for the university, which then harms every player. And then it puts us in a really bad situation. So while we want to do all these things that I think are positive, I'm just concerned that we don't, jump the gun, so to speak, and that we do things the way that they should be done.
Gotcha.
Who is that speaking? Who was speaking there?
Oh, I asked the question. Sorry.
Okay, no, but I just didn't see the name of who was speaking.
Lachlan Shaw from Australia.
Got it.
Lucky, yeah. I moved to Miami about 7 years ago.
Oh, okay. Are you friends with Headley?
Who?
Headley, the punter for the team.
No, sir.
Okay. Interesting. There are a lot of agents over in Australia that got players over here, so there's quite a bit of interest with NIL deals.
Yeah, the NIL deals in Australia kind of take a back seat just geographically. Miami is just kind of a centralized region with a lot of booming businesses. So we do have Australian ties, but I'm gonna mitigate my connections for the upcoming season.
Got it.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to Coach Tank. He's on here, and just say hi to him, man. What's going on, Tank? If you want to come and say something, you're welcome.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
What is your thoughts on the deal that Tennessee gave? The quarterback that's going to Tennessee, Nico, in regards to NIL deals.
So this is my thought on just about everything overall, right? So when you have certain unique type of assets, and I'm just going to use that sparingly, and I'm going to call a player an asset, right? So if you viewed it as a business and you viewed a very unique type of player with a lot of talent, then think of it in this fashion. If somebody had a piece of art, right, that's very unique, then the price for that piece of art can go far beyond of what I call an outlier. So an outlier is something that falls outside of the norm, right? So I see more problematic, believe it or not, when they give $50,000 to every lineman at a university than giving one player $7 or $8 million. I think the number was $8 million. Am I correct on that?
That's correct.
Okay.
$2 million a year. I think $350,000 signing.
Right. So the issue with that is, let's just use Tom Brady as kind of like an outlier, or Aaron Rodgers. Those guys, command certain numbers, and you could not say that for purposes of a university or a business, that marquee player doesn't command that value, because we all have different views on what we do. So that's the reality of the way that I see that. I see those less problematic than universally giving money to every player on the team at the same amount, irrespective of, the name, image, and likeness. Because at the end of the day, what the law says is, hey, if you're going to give somebody an NIL, it's got to be fair market value. So how do you determine fair market value? Fair market value, by definition, is where a willing buyer and willing seller will strike a deal. That's what fair market value is. So, again, if we go back to, if you look at a very unique car, a very unique home, a very unique piece of art, you see how much people pay for it. So the number is less problematic for me than the platform and the manner in which they distribute what they're going to give the players. Because when you just simply are giving money in the same amount, thought process that goes into that, right? And then the bigger component of this, I think, which is what I've made sure that we cover, is now that you gave a contract, a contract, and when the schools look at it for compliance, they're just looking at the I's dotted, the T's crossed, and the four corners of the contract. The school isn't asking, hey, did Billy fulfill the terms of his agreement? You got to do that, and you got to have a system to make sure that if there's ever a problem, you can justify it. This is the reason why you see that I've set up our NIL platform and that I actually show you the background. So I will post videos through Twitter and otherwise of the players actually working. Because if I show you them working, who's to say that they're not working? We know that they were there. We know that they put the time and effort into it. I think that that's where a lot of these programs are going to have problems. And that's kind of what I've done my whole career. I kind of envision where the problems are going to come, and I kind of plan around them, right?
So not to mention that the program, but a program that gives $50,000 to all the offensive linemen, that's not fair market value because you got one that's a 5-star and one that's a 2-star or a 3-star, but they're getting the same amount.
So I think that's problematic. I mean, just think about it through common sense. It's almost like having cars at a car dealer, and they're all the exact same price, even though they have the different options, different models. I mean, this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make common sense. It doesn't happen in a professional football team. It doesn't happen even with scholarships at the schools. Some players get more than others. So why would it make sense to try to have like the same price for everything? That doesn't make sense. Now, is the NCAA going to go after them? I don't know. I suspect that they're going to make examples of some, and and then here's a bigger issue. When you have a 501c3, you're not just dealing with the NCAA. Now you're dealing with the Internal Revenue Service as well, because 501c3 can be disallowed, and if it's disallowed, it creates other issues. And then one of the things that I'm, looking at very closely also, and even though the University of Miami has a great compliance department, whatever, universities cannot stick their head in the sand, right? So if a university sees a bunch of contracts and they don't have the right criteria in terms of numbers, they got to study that too. You can't just be throwing money at people without a quid pro quo. There's got to be some tit for tat, and you got to look at that. You just got to look at that as a university, because at the end of the day, it's the university that has to comply with the mandates of the agreement that they signed with I'm not sure if you guys all understand how this kind of works. So you don't have to be a member of the NCAA, but if the school is a member of the NCAA, then the players have to sign with the school that they're going to abide by the rules and regulations of the NCAA. So it's almost like a three-way bind, right? So the NCAA is bound to the school is bound to the player is bound to the school and the NCAA. If you guys have some time and you want to read the rules, you should. They're pretty strict. They're bylaws like you would have bylaws in a condominium or otherwise. So, I'm trying to kind of lay out the universe of how this all kind of comes together and it works. And it's not an easy thing. And I've spoken to a lot of people about it. And I also have spoken to a lot of lawyers that are very knowledgeable. They're great lawyers. But, there's a difference between theory and reality. The one thing that I have is I bring to the table an enormous amount of experience. Remember, I've litigated against every major company in this country, from Johnson & Johnson to McDonald's, Disney, Burger King, Merck Pharmaceuticals, State Farm, Allstate, Progressive. You name it, I've done massive litigation. I know how they all operate. I've also litigated against the NCAA and the FHSAA before.
Okay, let me get Coach Tank in. Go ahead, Coach Tank. Go ahead and speak.
What's going on, guys? Thank you for having me on. I have a quick question for the Ruiz family. I don't know if you just answered it, but I used to always joke around in these spaces because after Texas gave those huge NIL deals for the linemen, I used to say maybe Miami should do some like croquetas and canes for their old linemen. But have you guys ever thought of maybe doing an NIL deal just for linemen or something for the offensive linemen, or that's not in the thought process right now?
So, I mean, we have a significant number of the offensive linemen already. I don't know if you've seen the latest commercial that we just put out, but it's mostly all just offensive linemen. I think one tight end.
Yeah, it was basically the offensive line acting like they're protecting like they're Van Dyke's bodyguards around the office. It's pretty funny. You should check it out.
Okay, I'll definitely check it out. Thank you guys.
I realized that Alex was back on again. So, look, again, I just kind of want to reiterate, every single move that we make, and Alex can vouch for this because he sees the inner workings. Every single move that we make is, very vetted and looked at, to make sure that everything is kosher. Because again, I guess people don't understand that if we screw up something, it affects the players in the school. It doesn't affect LifeWallet. LifeWallet is just putting a contract together. So I think people kind of miss the importance of having a very good platform, which is what I've said to people that have come to me. I go, listen, I don't really care about the competition. Like people say, look, we want to clear with you. We don't want to offend you. I go, no, I think it's great because I think from a fair market value. Now, I read somewhere, and I'm not sure if this is true, I read that Tyler Van Dyke's NIL deals amount to $1 million a year. I don't know if it was $1 million a year or all together. I know he's got a bunch of NIL deals. The NIL deal with us is only $65,000 a year. So
I think he gets more than that now because he has a cigarette one also.
Okay, I thought that he had a 50 and then 15, but I got to look at it. Maybe it's a little more. Anyways, bottom line is this. It should be a coordinated effort, right? Because the more a player gets, if it's through different businesses, then it makes more sense because for that business, a fair market value for us, $65,000 is a fair market value for Tyler Van Dyke. And for somebody else, the fair market value he can do for them maybe $15,000. Maybe somebody else's fair market value is $200,000, right? It's all depending on what he's going to do for that particular company, what the industry is, and what he can give back. Therefore, the more variety and variation exists, the better it is. So people say, well, are you going to get upset with life? No, why am I going to get upset? Bring more. If the players can make more legitimately, I just would like to vet to make sure that nobody else is making a mistake with these NILs, because how crappy would it be that we have a really good platform of NIL with LifeOn, and then all of a sudden somebody puts an NIL deal with other players and it messes things up? It still, goes back to the university and the player.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Alex, talk to them a little bit about kind of what I do in terms of every deal that we work on.
Well, pretty much what happens is that every single deal that you're talking about when you when the kids come in for commercials, or the vetting process.
Yeah, the vetting to make sure everything's
basically every deal, whether I cut the deal, my brother cuts the deal, or my dad cuts the deal, where they're all looked at to make sure that that it's all that the paperwork's in place and that every single deal is done legally. We do everything legal, so we're not doing things that are quickly done and not looked at thoroughly. Everything is looked at in detail. So every contract is looked at either by my dad, Alexis, or both of them. I'd say 99% of them are both of them looking at the deal. Even if it's just we gave the same contract to somebody else and the only difference is the numbers, that deal's still looked at again because everyone's a little bit different too and kind of the situations. But I think it's also important to note too. I don't know if we touched upon this earlier, but we definitely want to start giving some NIL deals out to the basketball team.
Quick question from Michael B on YouTube. How is the space going? How is the Life Wallet company going right now? This is for John.
So, in a nutshell, I would say it's kicking ass. Amazing. Quite frankly, and I've said it in the spaces before. When you run a business and you pay for advertising, you try to gauge what you think the cost per lead is going to be. That's basically the way that advertising works, right?
It's called the CAC, customer acquisition cost.
Right. So at the end of the day, when you go out and you kind of put dollars into different places, and believe me, I've done a lot of advertising in my life. I used to spend $700,000 a month advertising with different mediums, and I ran my own production company with live trucks everywhere. So I understand this business very well. I have never, ever, ever gotten the bang for the buck. It's just out of control. This NIL thing has gone viral. In fact, it's not this Saturday, it's the following Saturday that CBS interviewed me, and they have this whole section just on Life Wallet and MSP. So I can tell you from an MSP perspective, if somebody comes back and says, hey, did you get fair market value? I mean, I got fair market value and a half. Now, a lot of that was self-created, right? Because of the way that we did it. I think, that the commercials that we've kind of put together have been viewed by a lot of people. There's, positive energy. I think the kids are happy that they're doing it. They're pumped. So in a nutshell, I would say that it's been beyond successful for everyone.
I also think that what happens too is that we kind of did a guerrilla type of strategy in terms of we weren't just giving deals to Tyler Van Dyke, the long snapper was getting deals, and everyone sees that and everyone starts saying, okay, this is different. This is not somebody just trying to get the best player in the team with the most followers. They want, cohesiveness of the whole entire group getting a deal and the whole entire group being able to, at the end of the day, no matter who you are, if you play for the University of Miami, you're looked at as a leader, and that's why it's very good what we're doing. And, even the long snapper got a deal, and the kid from Key West, Prozac, got a deal, and we do a lot of stuff for cigarette, in Key West. So I think that it kind of, counter-pollinates everything when you can tie in, some guys like that are good for both Life Wallet and cigarette, because now everyone in the Keys knows what cigarette is for basically for years and years and years, and then you could pitch them Life Wallet from the same owners of cigarette that already have that passion and that notoriety down there in the Keys. So now you're pitching something else, and people have that trust factor. So I think it's been, answer the question of has it been a success? I would say absolutely, and definitely, we're looking forward to keeping the whole entire thing going.
And I think two other things that I would add to that. Vic's nephew, who's a walk-on, gave him an NIL deal. And we likely have the most females in the country with NIL deals. I think I read one female at an NIL. I don't know how many others have. I don't really follow that, but we're looking to add a substantial number of additional female athletes. Morgan has been a huge asset and success. It just so
she might be the best one.
Yeah. So it just so happens, and she's super pumped. She recorded her own commercial. Super sweet young lady, very smart, has a knack for the camera and speaks well. So all of that is very positive. But I think what Alex said is kind of what the strategy was. I'm giving NIL deals, and we're going to give NIL deals. I don't even know if you'd want to call them that, but we're going to start giving NIL deals to non-athletes. People that will do stuff camera-wise or reporting or editing. We're going to start doing a lot of that because I think that that's what brings a very good, solid platform, right? Nobody can question the fact that it's being run the right way. Going back to one of the questions that I was asked is, how about this player that goes to Tennessee and is given this humongous contract? And to me, that shows, that you're kind of singling out and you're just doing it to get good players. Whereas if somebody looks at our NIL platform, we're giving, NIL deals to all different kinds of players, like Alex explained. And Alex, since you're on, I don't know if you know that I've extended an NIL deal to Isaiah Wong.
Okay, no, I knew that we had extended one to him earlier in the year, but now, no, that's good.
Yeah.
Also, what I wanted to comment on was that I think that now what happens is that the market's been set the same way how in professional sports, how the market gets set and then someone goes up and up and up from there. So you're going to see these NIL deals over the years creeping up and up and up in numbers, just because of how it works is that the market gets set and then someone comes in and gives you one better and better and better. So, the numbers are going to get pretty, crazy, I would say, in the next year and a half, 2 years, as what kids are getting. It also comes down to the fact that a lot of people are giving NIL deals to kids, that are coming out of high school now. And, some of these kids are shopping offers. So that's why, the numbers are going to get more competitive. And that's why, the numbers are going to get a lot higher than what we're seeing right now with the 65,000 and everything else like that. I would come to say that some of these deals, in the near future might end up being $200,000, $300,000 a year.
Holy mackerel!
So from what I hear, that you're saying that it's a possibility that you guys would give NIL deals to even like the coaches.
I probably would, but I'd have to look at their contract with the university, because there are other issues that aren't just the NIL component of it. Coaches have an agreement with the school where they're restricted from doing certain things. So it's kind of like a professional player that has a contract with a team, and sometimes they can't play softball if they're a baseball player because it violates the terms of the agreement. Would we give coaches NIL deals? Likely that we would. However, I believe that those contracts should be left to the schools, because that's the school's responsibility. Because that's that's something that doesn't move around too much. When a school wants to get a coach, they got to step up to the plate and pay the school. But going back to what Alex said, I think is a very good point. This is an uncertain market right now. I feel like it's almost like the GameStop. For those of you guys that follow stocks, everybody probably remembers the GameStop issue, right? It just goes up, and there's really been no market set in terms of what is a player actually worth from a fair market perspective, right? Because that's still out there, Fair markets or fair market value is determined, if you think about it, when something is new, it takes a while for the market to adjust, right? Because again, it's a willing seller versus a willing buyer. So at some point in time, I'm sure that players are going to start asking for money, and people are going to say no, and then nobody gives it, and then that's kind of where it stops. And you also have the other component, which is you're going to have NIL deals, and it doesn't work out with that player for whatever reason. The name, image, and likeness of the player there's no return on investment. And, people are very enthusiastic when things start, but then it gets old. It's almost like going to the car dealer and buying a brand new car, and you're super happy the first couple weeks, the first month, second month, third, fourth month comes around, and you're saying to yourself, damn, I still have to pay for the monthly lease or the monthly payment, and then it starts to become old, right? So that's normal life.
All right. What we're going to probably do here, guys, is let's wrap up tonight. I mean, it's great space by everybody. Great job, everybody. Stocks, Rob, Gio, the Ruiz family, Pullman. Thank you, Peter. Thank you all very, very much, everybody, for coming on this evening. We definitely got to do this again sometime later in the week, hopefully, if your schedules work out.
Okay. All right, guys.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. All right, take care, guys. Have a good night.
You too, guys. Thanks. Bye.
Good night. Great job, everyone.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Okay, for those of you on YouTube, again, thank you for coming tonight to this space. We had a good time. I thought you guys had good questions, and we're gonna probably do this later in the week. I don't have a time frame yet. I will let you guys know, and it'll probably be. You'll probably look for that on Twitter. Take care. Have a good night, and go Canes.